Okay, let's talk about Bioresearch Monitoring Technical Conformance Guide, or you can call it BIMO, B-I-M-O, or some people may call it BIMO. So this is one of the key submission components for the clinical trials. This is the official guide for the February 2018. Please note that this one is a little outdated, so for the most recent study, we should use the updated one, which is released by FDA. Is 2020 BIMO or BIMO guide. Okay, so you can find this document in the FDA website, or just Google search this guide 2020 July 27 guide. So I will go through this one for the important things that are related to statisticians and statistical programmers. Okay, so here this is just a table of contents. We can go through the details below. Here just a general guide for introduction to this guide. Okay, and here just a little bit. Okay, here is just the introduction to this guide. We can ignore that probably. And then the clinical study level information. You can read that. It's not too important for now. And then in the package we have protocol amendment or CRF that's usually handled by other functional department like data management, not for statistical programmers. Okay, these are the subject level data line listings by clean site. This one is the major work the statistical programmer will create. We'll talk about that later. So these listings will all be PDF files. And for the listings, we have around 10 categories listings. For example, the consented subjects and treatment assignments and so on. So these 10 category listings are usually included in the study's CSR. So you can use your CSR listings as the templates for those listings here, or you can modify or simplify a little bit just for BIMO. Okay, there are around 10, you can see 10 category listings. And then here just mention about the format. The format, basically you want your PDF files, if it's more than 500 M, you will need to be split into smaller ones. Okay, and then you have a second component is the clean site dataset, usually called clean site XPT file. Okay. So here to talk about just a little about organization of this data set. We'll talk about that more in the later. And the variables and the variable names for in this XPD data set. Just some a little more details about some variables here. So okay, yeah, there are many more details here for the programmers to be aware of. We can talk about in the specification for clean site XPD dataset later. Okay, so now we go to the most important part now here. So when you have a submission, the BIMO package, let's go through the next page. The location of the BIMO package, as you can see in the M5 folder, which is for clinical trials. When you do the submission, you have module 5 folder, and then you have dataset, you have BIMO, and if you can remember correctly, there's another folder, usually it's called Adam. There's another folder which is parallel to this, there's the same level of folder called SDTM. So there are 4 kind of files for the BIMO package that we might need to prepare for the submission. So the first one is this one. This is a PDF file to have the general information for each site. That we can see the details in the appendix. Okay, and the second one is this one, the listings, just one single PDF file with 3 layers of bookmarks that has all the listings by site. Okay, and the next one, and these 2, they are related to each other. So all these 2 are just for the clean site XPT dataset. Okay, then we need a XML file to describe this clean site XPT file, just like our Adam package. We have Adam XPT dataset and Define.xml also. So these are the third component, and the fourth component is optional. This is the BIMO reviews guide is optional, but if you have one, you can include it. Okay, so these 4 files are the components for the submission package for the BIMO package. Okay, so they will be put under here, the M5 folder. So these 4 components will be placed under the BIMO folder here, also here. So you have study level folder, you have site level folder. Okay, so the third and the fourth files in the previous page will be put under this folder, and the second one, the listings, will be put under this one, under here, and also the first one, the first from this one. So this one will be put under this folder. So these are the 4 components again, so that the programmers will need to prepare. So let's go through the following ones. So the file format is always PDF if these listings except these define files are different. The other files should be PDF file. Okay, these are just a reference for your information. So now go to the appendix, which is important for our component. So for the first component, we need a file, a PDF file that is exactly like this kind of content. You have the site, each site ID. You have the first or last name of the investigator and the address, a phone, fax, or email information for each site. It's quite straightforward. Your data manager should have this kind of information and collect it, save it as a PDF file, and make sure the PDF file has the required properties for the submission. Okay, then the second component is the listings for all sites. Currently there are two options. Most companies we use option A, which is we have a single file for the listings. So for example, you will have your protocol number, and then the second level bookmark is the site, your site number. Within that, you have all the 10 category listings here. So you can see this kind of structure is very straightforward. And the other one, the other option is you can have your site number here, but within that you have subject number here, and then you have all the listings here. Then we'll go to next subject number here. Okay, so again we usually go to the option A instead of this one. Okay, so let's go to this one. This one is used for the dataset, as we said, clean site x.xpt. So to create this dataset, we need a specification. So here, this content is exclusive for this dataset creation. They have 40 variables here. So to create this dataset, you can have all the columns from the first one until here. These are exactly the same for your spec. Don't make any change. And then the last two columns are just for your information. So you will have your own columns. I need to add a new column here for your specific rules or declaration for all these variables, okay? And all these columns here and the new added column will be used to create the define for this data set. Since we only have one data set, so it will be very straightforward to create a define for this data set. So you only need this kind of information in this specification. Again, to create that define, just load this dataset into Pinnacle 21 Enterprise, and then just copy the column from this column, the newly added column, into the Pinnacle 21 system and export that Define.xml and also the style sheet file. So you should be good to go. Okay, as you can see, there are many variables here. If you there are some changes currently for the 2020 guide compared to the 2018 guide. That is these two variables. These two variables are important. See, they are specific for this non-important and important protocol deviations previously with 2018 guide is different, so pay attention to this one. Okay, and the rest should be very straightforward. These things very straightforward. Okay, and then you will have examples here. The examples for the clean site XPT. So this one is just for one endpoint, which can go one endpoint, which means endpoint file type is only that one value. Here is binary. In the next example, they have multiple primary endpoints, which means the end type has different values here. Okay, so here this can give you a general idea how the clean site XPT file looks like. You can see all these variables, 40 variables, okay, are listed here. Okay, so this is the overview for the BIMO guide.